usually takes a little while for folks to get on. So what we're going to do is just we'll just chit chat for a minute.
Okay.
This is the and I do hope that what I have found is that I have this box that comes up on our streaming format here, but it doesn't seem to catch everything that's going on Facebook. So I'm just going to sign into my Facebook account or check it out.
Okay.
And, all right, let's see here. And we are going to get going in here in a minute. We're going to be talking about if you have been following Called to Peace Ministries for any time, you know that we have a 1 year advocacy training that is actually Dr. Debra Wingfield's curriculum mostly. She has got what did you say, 44, 45 years
I've
of
got, 45 years
yeah,
of experience.
right. And I think I have about 25. So we're looking around 70 years of experience. It's like it's a long lifetime. Clearly, we're a little bit older, but we've been around a long time. There are a lot of things popping up online. You and I see that all the time. People who are claiming expertise, and some of them might have just been like me when I first got started in advocacy. I hadn't had the experience of taking a class like what you offer. I hadn't worked at the domestic violence shelter yet, and I don't know that I was really all that equipped to do what I was doing. In fact, I made a lot of mistakes based on what I have learned here and what I learned in my advocacy training with the state of North Carolina. So I find, and what the people who come through our classes say is, you don't know what you don't know. This training is unique, and there's nothing else there like it. It's almost 100 hours when you complete the entire year. You don't have to do the whole year. There are 12 courses, one per month for over a 12-month period. So I'm going to introduce you, Dr. Deborah. You have a doctorate, educational doctorate, and we're a professor at Colorado State University, Pueblo, and worked with your Colorado State Coalition for years. And it's interesting too, because nowadays we have all this narcissistic abuse that's out there, people talking about narcissism. And so they've turned it into something that's more of a clinical diagnosis, when we know good and well that domestic abuse doesn't really fit in mental health categories so much. So let's talk a little bit about that. Yes, please sign in. Let us know where you're from. Hi, Alexis. Good to see you here.
And welcome, Alexis. Alexis just enrolled today, so thank you.
Yes. Well, she was asking about that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Good. We're glad you're going to be joining us.
But it doesn't.
Sorry about that. Go right ahead.
So, well, actually, what started these courses was training perpetrator treatment providers to work with abusers in Colorado. And so I just delved deep into the literature to really make those strong trainings for the treatment providers, because I knew they needed a lot of information, a lot of training and education. Because even when I had my doctorate, I had none of this all the way through all of my training. And you need to understand the dynamics of coercive control and domestic abuse, because those dynamics are so different from anything else we see in any kind of mental health or any kind of clinical situation. And we're not talking about clinical issues. We may be talking about the impacts that create clinical issues, such as complex PTSD. But we know that abusers choose their behaviors. They're not pre-programmed for that. They can make choices about how they behave. And one thing I think that really is valuable for people to understand is, it doesn't matter if someone has a diagnosis that says they're a narcissist or that says they're antisocial. That doesn't necessarily make them an abuser. They can have that diagnosis and be an abuser, or they can have they can be an abuser without even having any of those diagnoses.
Right. And I mean, if you've ever read Lundy Bancroft's book, Why Does He Do That? One of the things that was very eye opening for me when I read that years ago was that mental health diagnosis does not make an abuser. Because there are people, I've had women come through our support groups that would say, well, my husband is abusive because he's bipolar. And I said, but I know other people who are bipolar who aren't abusive. So we believe that abuse is usually, it's almost always a choice, unless somebody is just gone off, they've become psychotic and they've lost touch with reality. These folks are making a choice. And so the way that you approach the issue of domestic abuse or coercive control is the experts are now calling it, which I love that a lot better, because it basically doesn't necessarily infer any physical violence, so that there might not be any physical harm, but there's still all sorts of harm, at least no physical injury immediately, because we know that it also impacts physical health. And so these are the kinds of things that we talk about. And I just feel like that this program is so unique. I know that there are a lot of things out there, a lot of people that are offering training of one kind or the other, but I don't think there's anything this comprehensive. I mean, I was trained by the state of North Carolina as an advocate with the North Carolina Coalition Against Domestic Abuse. I'm a biblical counselor. I didn't get really any training on domestic abuse going through seminary. That's changed a little bit, but it still wouldn't be enough to equip. But this is almost 100 hours if you take the entire year. And we walk alongside. We actually will help you. If you complete a full year of courses with us, then you can become a Call to Peace affiliated advocate. And we will actually work cases with you. So we don't just leave you. We don't train you and leave you. And if you take the 1 year of classes, you can take the rest of from now on in the future, you can repeat these classes, because it is sort of like drinking from a fire hydrant. You can take these classes again, as many times as you want, and not be charged. So it's a pretty good deal. And hi,
Yes.
Warren. It's good to see you on here. Um, yes, Warren is saying that it was the most challenging and rewarding 50 weeks he's ever spent in his life, or so far, he says. So
Mhm.
yes, it is challenging. And it's just, again, very comprehensive. You have got so much research in there. It's basically research. And then we call it a faith based domestic violence or domestic abuse advocacy program. And the reason for that is I had a lot of people who wanted me to teach advocacy courses. I had people asking me, and I thought, I don't have time to write a curriculum. And then one day you walk into my office and you say, I've got 30 courses on domestic violence and advocacy. And I went, oh, well, I've got people asking. And so I just said to you, if you will allow me to put a biblical perspective on it, then we can work together, and I will add the faith-based perspective, and you give us your research. And honestly, they really don't conflict. It's been a wonderful thing to watch, even as I have done the brain science, learning that I believe that scripture gives us keys for healing. And I know that it does, because that's how my healing came, but it doesn't conflict with brain science at all. And we talk about that in there.
So we cover a wide range of areas. We talk about the impacts not only on the victim, but we talk about the impacts on the children. We talk about the impacts on the family system. And we also go in depth on how to work in the court system, because the family court system is so broken. And so we teach our advocates how to help the survivors that they're walking alongside, uh, exactly what they can be doing, and help them understand the court system, because attorneys don't take the time to explain how the court system works, but they expect lay people who've never been involved in a court case to walk in and understand what's going on.
Yes. Um, Okay, Rochelle says yes, a wonderful thing to watch. These teachings are absolutely invaluable. In fact, we've been asking people, how has it benefited you, and it surprised us. So many of the people who answered how have these classes helped you, we knew that they wanted to use the knowledge to help others in the future, but so many of them said it has helped their own healing process. And so, and because I'm going to ask you, as a who formerly licensed counselor, tell me why you think that the classes are helping people heal.
It helps people actually put a name to what's happened, to be
Mhm.
able to describe what's happened to them, and to be able to come to terms with it, and to go through the process of letting go of what they had no control over.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes, and I think too we even go over healing techniques in the class. We talk about that. The other thing that was sort of surprising to me was it was really helpful for people who are struggling with parenting issues, parenting traumatized children. In fact, we just did a more advanced course on that. But a lot of the people were saying that it just made them a better parent. It helped them to heal, and so it's been surprising. I did put some of the in the advertisement for this. I put some of the testimonials that we've received recently, and then you and I, and about how many, three, four, maybe four of the graduates of our classes did an info session maybe a week and a half ago. So please go back in the feed if you had a lot of questions and we don't get to them tonight because we want to keep this pretty short. Then please go back and watch that. It was I can't remember the date, in fact, but all you have to do is just go to the top of our page on Facebook and click on videos, and you'll see it. Several of the ladies were telling why they thought that this was helpful to them, why it was so invaluable to them. And the interesting thing is, I just said, ladies, we didn't think to get any of our male graduates, but men can take these classes. So
Mhm.
we
Yes,
start.
and Warren has let us know that there are still too many pastors who just can't see Jesus's love for individuals far above marriage.
Yeah.
And we do have the Church Partners program that has come out of the Advocacy training program. And we've trained several pastors, and we welcome pastors to be a part of this. We welcome counselors, biblical counselors, secular counselors to be involved in this as well,
Hmm.
because the dynamics are so unique. And I know when I first walked into a perpetrator treatment group and I had no idea what I was walking into, I walked out of there and I told my husband, I said, before I ever do another one of these groups, I have to understand what makes these men tick, because they just think very differently. And it's because they have distorted thinking. And as we start working with that and start understanding, it helps to untwist a lot of the mixed messages that have come to survivors.
Hmm. Yes. And so you did mention a couple of things that it would be, it's good for really anybody, any people helper, pastors. We've had several pastors come through here. And what happened as a result of our advocacy program is that we started a church partnership program because we had a lot of men, male pastors who had come through our training, and they were starting to reach out to other pastors to help, because I mean, who can speak to a pastor better than one who is a pastor? And so we have about 5 people who are working with our ministry to help churches understand domestic abuse more, and how to respond more effectively. I love what Warren said. It helped him see his own misconceptions about domestic abuse, and that is what is so deadly, is when we don't
Mhm.
understand, we can make such terrible mistakes. Our friend Missy Burns posted in her group today that please don't tell a victim of domestic abuse what to do. Don't tell them to go, don't tell them to stay. And that's where we talk about how sticky it can get, and just how important it is never to tell a victim what to do. And so those are the kinds of things we cover. It's not just it's for safety and sanity, but honestly, there just are times, usually as an advocate for years, I've said to women that I've worked with, choose your hard. It's going to be hard if you leave. It's going to be hard if you stay. And so you really need to weigh your options. And that's what a good advocate does. A good advocate does not tell people what to do. They help them make wise decisions by giving them information. And so we really are going to be giving you a lot of information that will help equip you to do the best possible job you can in supporting somebody who's going through domestic abuse or coercive control, which again is the new language. And there's a lot of people commenting in the chat. And so Nicole, who's commenting that she's a counselor, it helped her to be able to accurately identify the presenting problem and know how to walk wisely in helping my counseling clients. Yep. And great, Jenny. We're glad you signed up. She's joining us from Santa Cruz. And so we just wanted to get on here tonight. We've only got 6 days until classes start. Really only like 5.5 because it starts in the morning. So it starts Tuesday, and we really wanted to come on and to encourage people. If you've ever thought about it, please consider it. It'll be $69 a month for 12 months. When you hit subscribe, when you go to the link that I've put in the comments here, when you click subscribe, it will take you over to PayPal, and you'll end up signing up. And you will receive a letter from Dr. Debra with a link to join us on Tuesday. The classes are live on Tuesdays from 11:30 a.m. to 1:15 p.m. Eastern time. If you can join us live, that's great. If you cannot join us live, then you can watch the replays. If you want to get credit for the classes, you could just write us a one-page report. Bullet points are fine. And turn that into us for credit, because you can get a certificate at the end of each course. And there is a short quiz at the end of each course. And if you take all 12 courses to successfully get the certificates, then you are eligible to become a Called to Peace affiliated advocate. And those are folks who are our volunteer advocates. Some of them, it actually has led to jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So you can become an affiliated advocate with us. And we have people reaching out to us across the nation and in several different foreign countries. So we would love to have you join us. We have lots of areas where we really need advocates. And I'm sorry, I don't know those areas. I do know right here in North Carolina where I am, we actually are short of advocates. So, and I feel like there are some other states that we were struggling with, like Colorado and even Midwest.
Yeah, Iowa. I spoke to someone today in Iowa. They've got some terrible problems going on right up between Iowa and Illinois, right on the border there. They had another murder of a mom in front of her child. So we talk about all those things. We talk about how do you help someone through that. And we just got so much to offer. There's no way that we can throw it all in here right now.
Yeah.
Join us if you're not sure if you're ready to be an advocate, you're coming out of a situation and you want more information to help you heal. These can be helpful for you as well.
Yeah. And again, we didn't want to go too long. Nicole is telling me that New York and Pennsylvania need advocates as well. So, but don't let location limit you, because we know that so much can be done virtually. We are just at our capacity. Again, it would be something that you can volunteer with us. And if you have another background where you have been a people helper already and you've already got a pretty good working knowledge, sometimes we will fast track you if you would like to help into advocating. But again, you can go to House of Peace Pubs. So House of Peace, all spelled out, pubs like publications.com, and click on advocacy, and you can see a list of all the courses. If you cannot afford that $69 a month, please reach out to us. We have partial scholarships and some full scholarships. So I see that somebody's talking about murders. Yeah. Domestic violence murders happen all the time. But one thing we do know, and there's been studies that show that those who have advocates are much less likely to be murdered. So they will have better outcomes. That's the whole point of domestic abuse advocacy, is to improve the outcome for survivors, not to tell them what to do, not to tell them what to believe, but to help them, give them the agency to make their own decisions, because so most of these folks that are coming to us have not been able to make decisions for years and even decades. And so I just think it's really important that we support survivors of domestic abuse and coercive control wisely, effectively, and that we equip them, empower them, give them agency to move forward stronger, and not just come in and take over where their abuser left off by telling them, do this, don't do that. And so that's really bad advocacy. A couple of comments I do want to read before we get off. I've had DV training from other organizations and agencies. The training offered with CTPM is so much more in depth and is empirically based, to provide advocates with accurate and critical information and training to prepare professionals to understand domestic abuse in all its complexities. And that's true. I mean, I don't think you leave any stone unturned. It's really, I was pretty impressed. I had been doing this work for 20 some years when you came along, and I was learning some stuff. I knew most of it, but there were certain things I went, oh, I didn't know that. And you stay up with the research. It's amazing. So every year we update the classes. I
Yeah.
add new scriptural references. So these are not going to be old and stale. Every year, if you've taken it in the past, you can come back and join us. It's definitely worth taking again, because it's probably going to be updated somewhat.
Mhm.
And
Well, I can say that absolutely. I just started an article today, and I was telling Chuck tonight, Chuck is my husband, that there's some new information from the research there that I want to bring into our class on interviewing skills. And so we're just constantly culling for the newest and latest information to bring to you.
Yeah. So, Dr. Debra, if you can just remember, maybe give a list. You mentioned interviewing skills. We know we've got the dynamics of domestic abuse and coercive control. We have a class on trauma, and like a whole class. These are like 8 hours, almost, well, 7 to 8 hours. If you join the Q&A once a month that we have, then it would be at eight hours of training in a month. You can always do it at your own pace. You can drop it and come back to it. I tell people it's better to try to stick with it. But what else we have? We have two or three classes on court advocacy.
And we talk about abusers. We talk about abuser dynamics because we have to understand them as well. We do talk about resources in the community and across the country and in other countries where we have advocates. We want to make sure that everyone knows what kinds of resources are out there. And then we talk about the effects of violence on children. And now we're learning so much more about the impacts of coercive control on children. So we talk about that and the effects of child abuse on children as well. So we cover the whole family system,
Right.
and as well as what's going on in the courts.
Yeah. And including the impacts on victims, which we talked about a little bit. Even if there's no physical punching, there are physical impacts. And so we cover all of that in class. But mostly we also, I think, provide hope, because we know that the research is telling us that you can heal after domestic abuse. I was saying, I saw a post recently about how survivors can't control their reactions because they're being triggered. And we know that's not true. We have a choice, even when we're being triggered, how we're going to respond. Now, we have to learn some skills, and that's what we teach you in the classes, some of those skills to help them not to let the trigger take over. And yes, we know it's very difficult, but brain science research is showing us that people can heal. I thought years ago that it meant we would be scarred for life, and that is not the case. Brain science is proving it. God's word tells us the same thing. So again, that's where they mesh together really well, in my opinion. And then the final class is a practicum where we actually walk through, we talk to you about how to take cases, again, reminding you how to do the interviewing. It's just really practical stuff. And then if you decide to become a volunteer advocate with us, then you have Dr. Deborah and me at your disposal as we're working through cases, and our advocate trainers. We've got several people we've taken on with us. Nicole and Hannah are on here. They are two of our trainers. We have Portia, who's our advocate coordinator. So it's going to be, I think it will be so impactful for your own healing process and to help you most effectively help those who are struggling under oppression in their homes. So there's lots of good comments in here. I don't really have anything else I want to say. We just want to let you know the deadline is here. Please come sign up. Please join us starting this coming Tuesday. Any last words from you, Dr. Deborah?
I just really want to encourage everyone, whether you're still in that healing process or you feel like you're ready to walk alongside someone, these courses can be helpful to you wherever you are in your journey.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate all of you who even have the heart to help. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us through the website that we have mentioned, but you can also email us at faith.advocacy8@gmail.com. And maybe, Nicole, you can put that in the chat for us. And I think that's it. We will hopefully see a whole lot of you this coming Tuesday. We're looking forward to starting these classes, and I'm grateful again that you guys joined us tonight, and we hope that we will have a lot of folks joining us. Please feel free to share this with friends that you know have a heart to help those who have experienced domestic abuse, because we certainly need more advocates. So thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.